Games are great at giving us feedback. Here's how they do it well and exactly why it matters.
We might have grown up hating exams at school, but the truth is that our brains love feedback.
I believe Max has taken what you kids call a selfie. A dumb word for a wonderful photographic tradition. And Max has a gift.
As humans, we all like being told stuff about ourselves, whether it's IQ tests, social media success, or even online quizzes to find out which Game of Thrones character or horror final girl we are.
In short, we need validation. It's a thing we don't often get enough of in our daily lives, and games are great at it. In fact, we couldn't even play games without it. The essence of good design is demonstrating to players exactly what they're doing, why it matters, and how those actions can affect the world they're in.
In this video then, we'll be looking at the ways that games are great at telling us how we're doing, why we like it so much, and how they can get even better at it. And we'll be looking at how things like tutorials and practice can make a lasting, even lifelong, impression on us.
Prepare to feel good about feeling good about yourself. Here are 5 reasons player feedback is so important.
First off, we need to establish what good feedback is and why games are so effective at providing it. To do this, we're going to return to Jamie Madigan's website, The Psychology of Games. In an article we've linked to in the description, Madigan talks about how in-game feedback compares to the stuff we get in real life. He explains that games are designed to relay information to us. That info helps us track our progress towards goals, which is something our brains love.
Conversely, most of the feedback we get IRL is vague, infrequent, or unspecific. And what feedback we do get is often only given because something's gone wrong. Your assignment was rushed, you're always late to work, you include Stardew Valley in every single list feature you write. You get the idea.
Games, however, celebrate what we do right more often and with greater detail. Madigan points out that game feedback is so good because it's immediate and frequent. Games are constantly telling us how well we're doing. On top of this, they're focused on outcomes, not our identities. This means that games let you be a dashing hero irrespective of your personality. Conversely, you might fail your appraisal at a sales job, for instance, if you're not outgoing or assertive enough, and that's something that feels much harder to fix.
Games also show us a mix of positive and negative feedback. Positive when we achieve a goal or defeat a boss, negative when we mistime a jump or die unexpectedly. Years of playing games have taught us to read and process this information. And finally, we have progress and XP bars, a constant, measurable way of showing us just how well we're doing. On a related note, Madigan talks in another article about the power of tutorials, and more specifically about the value of letting players make their own mistakes when it comes to learning how a game works. He refers to this as error management.
If you want players to grasp concepts quickly, Madigan explains that the best way to do it is to give players a broad brief, then let them fumble around until they succeed. This is because there's nothing more instructive than making mistakes and learning from them. By contrast, a game that stops you from doing the wrong thing will take longer to master. So, if you find an area with enemies with skulls over their heads and health bars that won't go down, it's probably better for you to make a run for it now and come back later once you're a higher level. But you learned the best way.
Obviously, it's all relative. A tutorial needs to tell you enough not to be frustrating or cumbersome. And the mistakes you make can't be punitive. You shouldn't be stressed about losing progress or being punished. But get it right and it's a much better way of learning. Players who succeed via trial and error remember more than those given exhaustive step-by-step instructions.
Why is this so important? Because we often have to change our tactics or approach depending on what a game is telling us, or we'll continue to fail. And to do this, we need to fully understand the rules. Take a challenging game like Celeste, for instance. Repeated deaths might signify that our choice of approach isn't working, but sometimes we get trapped in a loop, trying the same shaky tactic over and over until it works. It's not that the game has done a bad job of telling us why we fail, more that we've learned something about our own stubbornness via our refusal to adapt and overcome.
So, once tutorials have given us the right feedback about how to play, or indeed how not to play, what happens next? Well, it all depends on the type of game you're playing. And one particularly interesting genre that spells out your success is the humble simulation genre.
I dedicated a whole video to the reasons that we actively seek out experiences potentially more monotonous than our day-to-day paid jobs. Why would I want to see Matt at his desk all day and then go home to watch Matt at his desk all day? But here we are, looking at Matt. For the answer, it's vital to look at what simulation games actually are. It's in their title. They're recreations of real life. PC building, cooking, farming, driving trains, city building. We know what it looks like to succeed at these things, so it's very clear when we get them right.
Building, so to speak, on what I said earlier about feedback in real life being negative, simulation games will give you that as entire cities go on fire, but they'll also happily deliver positive feedback. In-game political figures will celebrate your existence by gifting you a shiny new mayor house or statue in your honour.
And these gifts and celebrations feel important. Where other games will quickly tell you if you're succeeding or not by the very nature of your character still being alive, simulations will spell out your success in charts positively bursting with feedback. Just look at the upcoming Planet Zoo. Every single one of your animals have needs and wants, handily displayed in a series of charts of green and red. Add enough enrichment items for this baby elephant and give him the perfect habitat, and everything will happily glow green. Multiply that by an entire zoo and your very own IRL positive feedback meter will glow green too. Plus, cute. So we've established that games are great at telling us how we're doing and that it's something our brains like. I've talked in the past about the broader benefits of playing games and how they can actually be good for you. But more specifically, can direct feedback in games help you feel better about things going wrong? Well, yes, as it turns out, it can.
A study by John Velez and Michael Hannes looked at how positive feedback in games can change how you feel about negative real-life influences. They discovered that if something has given you a negative image of yourself, whether it's poor exam results or jealousy-inducing Instagram posts, doing well in a game can help lessen the effects of those damaging feelings.
There are, as ever, caveats. You need to value the feedback that games give you for this to work. In other words, playing games won't make you feel better unless you already care about them. If you're not a gamer and you somehow cheese your way to victory in Sekiro, it won't change anything because you don't see any value in what you've just done. But since you're watching this video, I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that you do care and you might find this information useful.
So, the next time that something in your life makes you feel bad about yourself, pop on your favourite game, do something amazing, and let the positive reinforcement wash over you like waves at the beach. Lovely.
Finally, there's one area that Madigan talks about that demonstrates when real-life feedback is more effective than what we see in games, and what, if anything, games can do to improve. Generally speaking, games tend to focus on results, not on process. They're great at telling us if we failed or succeeded, but the outcomes are binary. We've either completed a task or we haven't, but they're much less effective at telling us about the process that got us there.
The Bergson began to slip away, wondering if this was death.
Dark Souls, thankfully, doesn't provide a detailed breakdown of our performance at the end of each fight. Yes, you defeated the 4 kings, but you'd have done much better if you switched to a double-handed weapon and killed them quickly.
Some games do break it down for us. When we complete a game like Resident Evil, for instance, we get a step-by-step overview of how we did. Likewise, at the end of a level in something like Hotline Miami. But games rarely give us guidance on how to improve, unlike a human coach who'll stop deficiencies in your game and try to fix them.
For games to provide this kind of feedback, they need to think in a very human way. Yes, there are World of Warcraft add-ons that will scan your combat logs and make suggestions, but right now nothing is as instructive as a talented player telling you what you did wrong and how you could do better. But who knows, in the future, that might change.
And that's your lot. Please give us some positive feedback of our own by hitting that like button and leaving us some lovely comments. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell so that you know when our next life-affirming video lands.